Even though at 6th and 7th level spells you are really at the point of being broken, not all spells are created equal, and you still want to keep your eyes out for the ones that are going to be more effective for you overall. Hello everyone, welcome back down here to the Gamer's Den with me, your host, Jordan, your master of lore and storyteller extraordinaire. We're here to talk about the 6th and 7th level spells for the 1st edition Pathfinder Druid, and, well, yeah, full spellcasting classes. You get so broken and you can end up with a whole lot of power without even really trying, but even still, there are some spells that are just plainly better than others, and these are going to be some of the ones that you want to keep your eyes on and really consider having in your back pocket. Just remember that given that you're a divine spellcasting class, basically, you can swap out your spells on a day-to-day basis. You're not limited by which ones you know, you're just limited to which ones you prepare for the day, with the exception of Summon Nature's Ally. Any of those, you can substitute any spell that you've prepared for Summon Nature's Ally at whatever level that you have access to. So just keep all that in mind. But before we get into what exactly we have on offer for you today, if you're new here to the channel, then go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here at the Gamer's Den. Or if you've already gone on ahead and listed yourself on such an incredible roster of legendary heroes, then go on down to hit the like button and share the video far and wide. Now, let's actually start talking about your 6th level spells here. And to kick things off, we have Ironwood. Now, this lets you make normal wood objects up to 5 pounds per level as durable and fire resistant as steel for 1 day per level. Using wood shape or a craft check, armor and weapons or other objects can be made. Spells like heat or chill metal won't affect these items because, well, they're still wood essentially. They've just been magically treated to have more enhanced effects to make them similar to steel. Bear in mind, if you only use the spell on half of the material you're capable of affecting, then you can start creating +1 and I believe up to +2 enhancement bonuses for those items. Just the +1 to +2 bonus there. So a little bit of extra armor or better ability to hit and deal damage. But even still, this opens up just so many options for you, especially if you have other proficiencies. So if you're proficient with long swords, great swords, some other kind of weapon, then Ironwood will be your path towards making that happen. Now, this is a spell that just, to me, seems like it should just be naturally opened up to the permanency effect and enchantments and spellcasting to keep that all in place. But check with your DM first to see what their rulings are. Certainly, this is one I think should be open just because it really does do a lot to expand a lot of possibilities for you. But even if it's not, the fact that you only really need to cast this, once every 10 days, 12 days, 15 days, however many days at however many levels you've hit, really just still makes this usable even if you can't make it permanent for some reason. But then the next spell that we have for you is another handy item here, and it's Spell Staff. Touch a wooden quarterstaff to store 1 spell you're normally able to cast. This is permanent until used, and you can only have 1 spell staff at a given time. Now, some of you may look at this and go, oh, you're only storing 1 spell, but a lot of other people are going, oh man, we can store another spell, fantastic. And it's just 1 spell that you're normally able to cast. So, if you hit 7th level and you gain access to heal, you can store a heal spell in this. Any other spell that you're able to cast, you can put into this and have ready to go at a moment's notice. And so this can be great for those really clutch, dire moment kind of things where you really need that 1 extra spell to come out there. And something like the heal spell is just so broadly useful with enough general purpose to it that it's going to be reliable for a lot of different situations. Even if you're not going to use it every single day, every single combat, it's still going to be worth having as a backup. And even if you're not doing that, if you just have a backup spell, just kind of that offhanded, maybe this will be useful, maybe not, you can still have that stored extra and ready to go. And bear in mind that the spell remains in place until it's consumed. There's not really a time limit on this. The only real limitation you have is that you can only have one of these active at any given time. The next spell is another one that no full spellcasting class should be without if they have it on their list, and that's Greater Dispel Magic. You target one spellcaster, creature, object, or a 20-foot radius area. If you do the targeted option, you dispel one spell for every 4 caster levels, starting with the highest level spell. For area, you roll 1 dispel check and apply that to each creature in the area, excluding magic items. Or if you do counterspell, it works as the dispel magic version, but with a +4 bonus. This is just a great debuff to have to really get in there and stick it to your enemies, remove their buffs en masse if they have them, do a lot to suppress magic items and the like with this as well. It's just great to have, wonderful utility, absolutely a must just because of all the different magical things, spellcasters and the like, that you will have in your way. Now, the next 6th level spell for you is Sirocco. Conjure a 20-foot radius, 60-foot tall blast of furnace hot winds that last 1 round per level. This deals 46 +1 fire damage, +1 per level fire damage, I should say, and knocks targets prone. However, a successful fortitude save halves the damage and prevents the being knocked prone effect happening. Although flying creatures must make a DC 15 fly check or be forced to the ground and take damage as if they fell. Now that DC 15 fly check is not super high, even with no skill investment in it. You know, they've got like a 6 in 20 chance of succeeding there. I'm not good at fractions, unfortunately, breaking that down to the smaller bunches there, so just a little over a 1 in 4 chance of succeeding. That's not super great, but even if you manage to only catch a couple, every now and then somebody is bound to fail this, and the fact that they take damage as if they fell when that happens is fantastic. That fall damage is more than likely going to go through and actually affect them. Any creature that takes damage from Sirocco becomes fatigued or exhausted if they are already fatigued, such as if they had already become fatigued from Sirocco. The water subtype creatures take a -4 penalty on saving throws and double damage, which is situational, but nice to have there. It's nice to know and keep in mind. And really the big selling point for this is that it's an area of effect that any damage that they take means that the creatures will become fatigued or exhausted, and because this lasts 1 round per level, you can really keep this going and really punish opponents, making enemies fatigued and exhausted. It's an incredible series of debuffs to be layering onto people as you just throw this spell around. The fire damage isn't anything really to write home about. I mean, it's nice that you've got a nice flat bit of damage there, +1 per level, so if you're level 18, that's plus 18 points of damage, but you know, minimum you're doing 22 points of fire damage, maximum, let's see, 46, 4 12s, 24, so if you're level 20 and you get another 24 points of damage out of that, you're looking at a tops of 44 fire damage overall there, and yeah, that's not great given the amount of fire resistance or outright fire immunity that there is before we even get to the reflex saves. That just makes this pretty bad all the way around in terms of its damage dealing. No, it's more the ability to knock people prone and also make them fatigued or exhausted. I mean, eventually getting them down to just doing a single action on their turn, that's great. That's absolutely great. A wonderful spell to have. Then we of course cap things off with Summon Nature's Ally 6. Summon one creature at any point with 25 feet plus 5 feet every 2 levels, or 1d3 creatures from Summon Nature's Ally 5, or 1d4 plus 1 from Summon Nature's Ally 4. you're going to want to pick out either a huge elemental, a dire tiger, a stegosaurus, a shambling mound, or an elephant. Stegosaurus just has incredible damage and also has a decent trip effect on it. Tiger just has a lot of mobility, climb speed, positioning and everything, and has a great number of attacks. Elementals just have a good array of tankiness or utility to them. Elephants are going to be great for their trample effect, and shambling mounds are going to be good for grappling. Although the shambling mounds, they're okay, but it's mainly that big grappling effect that's going to be really nice. Darn animal companions anyways. Anyhow, moving on from there. 7th level spells. To start this off, we are going to open up with Heal. You touch a target creature to fix ability damage, blinded, confused, dazed, dazzled, deafened, diseased, exhausted, fatigued, feeble-minded, insanity, nauseated, poisoned, sickened, stunned, and you will heal 10 hit points per level, maxing out at 150 at level 15. That's just staggeringly incredible. An awesome spell. It is the best healing spell in the game. And you can see why. Not only are you healing a good amount of hit point damage, but you are healing all of these other status effects on top of it. That darn creature. That is great. That is just absolutely wonderful, and the fact that the healing scales at such a great pace is wonderful. Really blows cure moderate wounds, cure serious wounds out of the water. And also, as an added note, if you use this on undead, this works instead like the harm spell, although, while that's cool, it's much better just healing your allies. Then from there, we come to another great spell that's an incredible buff, and that's True Seeing. For 1 minute per level, the target you touch can see through normal and magical darkness, doors hidden by magic. You can see through blur, displacement, invisibility, illusions. You can see the true forms of polymorphed creatures and transmuted things, out to 120 feet. Now, this does have a couple other effects, and it does have limitations. For example, you can't just see through barriers. You can't use this to negate any mischance from cover, things like that. But even still, the fact that you can use this to see through illusions and invisibility is great. Blur and displacement as well. All of the utility that this offers up for you out to 120 feet makes this an absolutely invaluable spell. A couple of guides note the spell component cost, making this a bit expensive to cast, and maybe it is, but you gotta spend the treasure somewhere, and it might as well be on things that are going to keep you alive and get you to your next rewards, your next great victories and the like. Don't just let it sit and pile. You're not a dragon. Well, maybe you are a dragon, but the point still is valid. And going on from that, we have another one that's really interesting, and that's transmute metal to wood. At any 40-foot radius inside a 400-foot plus 40 feet per level range, all metal objects are changed to wood with no save, only spell resistance in the way. Metal magic items have a spell resistance of 20 plus their caster level. Weapons take a -2 on attack and damage rolls afterwards. Armor, well, the armor class gets reduced by 2. Weapons break on a roll of 1 to 2. Armor will lose a point of armor class each time they're struck by a natural roll of 19 to 20. This is just great. Now, bear in mind that this will mean that if you use this on opponents with magic weapons and the like, or any kind of fancy gear made out of unique or interesting metals, that's going to functionally be destroyed. You need a limited wish, or miracle spell to reverse this effect. So this is pretty damn permanent all the way around. But you're a druid, you're not super worried about metal objects and the like in most instances. Sure, your party will be, but I'd still argue that staying alive is much more important than collecting all the bits of gear afterwards. And really, I mean, even if you use this on some big bad or one of their trusted lieutenants or captains, their right-hand figures, removing their ability to deal damage to you, especially if they're dependent on metal weapons, metal armor, that's still going to be more valuable than actually collecting the things afterwards. You can collect rewards everywhere. I mean, by the point in time that you have access to 7th level spells, your means of making money or gathering wealth and riches, should you actually desire them, are going to only be limited by your imagination. Now, the next spell here is an example of one where you really just want to skip it. These are the kind of things you want to look out for, which I try to cover every now and then, but sometimes there's just so much that so many good things that we just don't quite have time to get to it. But this spell is Vortex. You make a whirlpool 50 feet deep, 30 feet wide at the top, and a 5 foot wide base to it that deals bludgeoning damage for 1 round per level, which is like 3d6 points of bludgeoning damage, and you can direct the whirlpool to eject the target out and deal another 66 or 68 points of damage to them. That sounds kind of great at first, but this requires a sizable enough body of water for the whirlpool to take effect, which is limiting since not a lot of campaigns will have these kinds of bodies of water readily available to you frequently. And not only that, but you can just summon a water elemental at that point. Water elementals can create a vortex, and the vortex does the damage and has all the effects, and you have another creature on your side in the fight. So even if this is a valuable spell to you, even if you're in an aquatic-based campaign or have some means of generating a large enough body of water, I mean, summon a water elemental. Summon a water elemental. It's going to be so much more effective for you, especially as you keep advancing to 8th and 9th level spells. You can summon multiple water elementals that are able to create these vortexes en masse, and you'll have multiple creatures around to assist you. So all the way around, this just makes Vortex redundant and kind of bad, especially in comparison to some of the other spells you'd be able to throw out there to really add on to things. So again, all the way around, Vortex just isn't great. And the same thing can be said for the different cure spells that I mentioned before. You know, cure moderate wounds, cure serious wounds, all of those things between cure light wounds and heal, they're really not great. The healing doesn't scale very well. The amount of dice that you get with the healing isn't great. I mean, heal is great because of that flat plus 10 that you get per level, topping out at 150. That's a metric crap ton of healing that the other spells just cannot compete with. And Cure Light Wounds is as good as it is because, well, you can get it as a nice, cheap wand and have access to healing in spades necessary to touch up your allies. So all the way around, you know, just be aware and look out for those spells. They may not always be immediately obvious, but still just try to give it a little bit of thought and look at things. Obviously, though, the exception is, if it just fits the flavor and feel of the character that you're going for, go with that. I know I say that a lot, but I will keep saying it as often as I can. Build the character that you want to build. The goal of this guide is just to help you learn what to look for, to learn what the mechanical effectiveness is. I'm not necessarily going to go for the most broken, over-the-top builds, although full spellcasting classes kind of are broken and over the top. But anyways, you get the idea. Make the character that's going to be the most fun for you. That's the most important thing. Everything else is just suggestions, tips, tricks, ideas. Now, moving on from there to the last spell on our list that we're covering today, we have, of course, Summon Nature's Allies 7. Summon one creature at a point within 25 feet plus 5 feet every 2 levels, or 1d3 creatures from Summon Nature's Ally 6, or 1d4 plus 1 creatures from Summon Nature's Ally 5. Greater Elementals, Dire Crocodiles, Fire Giants, and Giant Anacondas will be great picks for you. Giant Anacondas have just an incredible grappling ability, and their Constrict ability just lets them deal a lot of damage. Greater Elementals, of course, have a whole host of abilities that are useful for you, and because you can select the different kinds of elementals, you've got some flexibility with this option. Dire Crocodiles are just great, and Fire Giants do so much damage. I mean, you're going to have a lot of options with this, and this is going to do a lot to really bring more fighting effectiveness to you and your party overall. So, keep that all in mind there. But of course, let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know what you think. Did you like today's video? Did you dislike it? Go on down to the comments down below and we'll engage in discussion, and be sure to hit those like or dislike buttons. And remember that if you're new here to the Gamers Den, go on down there, hit the subscribe button, and become a regular member here. But with all that said, I've been your host, Jordan, your Master of Lore and Storyteller Extraordinaire. Thank you all so very much for your time, and you all have yourselves a good night.